So I was going to do a post on the House of Representatives shutting down the House early just so they don't have to vote on releasing Jeffrey Epstein's information.
The House is at a standstill right now. House leadership is sending the House home a day early, and they will not be returning until September for their August recess. Leadership is hoping that delaying floor time is going to help slow down the temperatures here, because Republicans are divided on this issue.
So they get an extra 2.5 weeks or so, because they're not going to come back until after Labor Day in September, of not being in the House and not getting any work done, because they don't want to have a vote on releasing Jeffrey Epstein's case. And also, I was going to roll in this information.
Breaking news this hour, a source tells CNN that the House Oversight Committee could soon subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell, former girlfriend and accomplice to Jeffrey Epstein.
We're hearing the subpoena could come very quickly. And they're going to have to coordinate, this is from a source, they're going to have to coordinate with the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons about when to speak with Maxwell, because of course the Department of Justice also wants to speak with Maxwell. But this came about because Republican Congressman Tim Burchett forced the House Oversight Committee to take a position on this issue.
So all of this happened yesterday. He sent everybody home because not only is the groundswell from their constituents getting more and more heated, because everybody wants to know, why are you covering for the deep state, Donald Trump? But also the Congress wants to subpoena and interrogate Ghislaine Maxwell themselves to get the answers from the horse's mouth. So Speaker Johnson had no choice to say, you know what, let's stop. Let's say, hey, screw this. Let's send everybody ass home for at least a month and a half so that they don't have to talk about it. Listen to what he had to say.
We're not going to play political games with this. We've all been very clear and transparent.
Clear and transparent, my ass. But you know what? I'm going to let him finish. Listen to when he starts stuttering. You know he lying.
The House Rules Resolution sets a good standard and requires all credible evidence to be released, and that's exactly where the White House is. There's no, as I've said many times over the last, as I've said many times, there's no daylight between the White House and the House. You have to allow the legislation to ripen, and you also have to allow the administration the space to do what it is doing. The president has said clearly, and he has now ordered his DOJ to do what it is we've all needed DOJ to do for years now, and that is to get everything released. So they're in the process of that. There's no purpose for Congress to push an administration to do something that they're already doing.
MAGA, ask yourself this question. If it was Biden, Obama, Clinton, do you think a Republican-led House would not want to rush that Democrat to get those files to them? I'll wait. No, I won't, because I ain't talking about that. Let me tell you why I wanted to talk to you today.
Brand new bombshell reporting from the Wall Street Journal that might explain why Donald Trump appears so anxious and frankly flat-footed when it comes to releasing documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The Wall Street Journal citing senior administration officials in its reporting that when Justice Department officials reviewed what Attorney General Pam Bondi called a, quote, truckload of documents related to Epstein earlier this year, they discovered Donald Trump's name appeared multiple times. From that report, quote, in May, Bondi and her deputy informed the president at a meeting in the White House that his name was in the Epstein files, the official said. Many other high-profile figures were also named, Trump was told. Being mentioned in the records isn't a sign of wrongdoing. The officials said it was a routine briefing that covered a number of topics and that Trump's appearance in the documents wasn't the focus. Look. You have got to go back and rewind what you just heard. Because what did she say? She said back in May, Donald Trump.
That Donald Trump's name is not only in the Epstein files, Donald Trump knew it, and Donald Trump lied to the public about that knowledge.
He got a briefing back in May, and they told him his name was all over it. Now, full disclosure, just because your name is all over the file doesn't necessarily mean that you were doing anything nefarious. I get that. But the man knew, and he didn't want that information out there. He knew it. He lied to the American people about it. He lied to MAGA about it.
Here, if the Department of Justice and the Trump administration is saying, oh, we want to be transparent, that is information that they don't need to go to the court and turn over. We just saw them do that in the Martin Luther King Jr. files, turning that over.
So you see how all this is coming together? Trump saw back in May that his name was all in those files. So he started doing all kind of crazy shit to get your mind off of it. But the groundswell kept coming. MAGA kept saying release, release, release. The voters in the Republican districts were going to their congresspeople saying, hey, we want those files released. He promised us we would get those files released. Why is he not doing it? Is he controlled by the deep state? Is Donald Trump part of the deep state? They kept talking about it. So here we get past May, we go into June, and now we're in July, and they still don't want to release those documents. They try to do a vote. Democrats tried to put releasing the files inside the rescission package. Republicans didn't want them to do it. So now you got people out there making lists and getting like a petition started in Congress to get them to release the files. So then Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, say, you know what? We already close to recess anyway. Let's go ahead and take a month and a half off. Because I guarantee you, the Speaker of the House, like he said, was talking to the president on a regular basis. And he said, you cannot have a vote to release those files because my name all over it. Hey, Mr. President, I got you. I won't release. You know what? I will send us on a month and a half recess. Maybe it'll die down in a month and a half. Because going back, they told him his name was in those goddamn files. And he lied to the American people. And to stall for time, he said, let's go to the judge and release the grand jury testimony when he don't have to go to the judge to release it because they just released the JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. files. And after releasing all that, it's still too big. So he said, you know what? I'm going to prosecute and investigate President Obama for 2016. I know what I think. What do you think?